Warm welcome from Berlin. My name is Josef Lentsch. I am the founder and CEO of Partisan, the community of political professionals, and the Political Tech Summit, which will take place for the second time in January 2026 in Berlin. It's great to have you all on for tonight's webinar on the Czech elections, where I want to look at the digital side of campaigning, but of course also of disinformation, what happened on all sides, what were the tactics, what were the strategies. And I'm very happy to have two experts with me tonight, Tomas Halasz and Jan Kral. I will introduce them in a minute. Before that, let me just sum up what happened. Last week, the Czech Republic held its parliamentary elections and also some others, with one of the highest voter turnouts in recent decades. The result marked a dramatic comeback for the former Prime Minister Andrej Babiš. His movement ANO won about 34.5% of the vote and secured 80 seats in the 200-seat lower house, making it the largest single party. We're looking today behind this story, the story shaped by digital infrastructure, information warfare, and tech-enabled campaign strategies. Researchers actually documented networks of anonymous social media accounts spreading pro-Russian narratives and boosting radical party messaging, generating millions of weekly views, in some cases outpacing reach by mainstream politicians and parties. Digital disinformation, foreign influence efforts, social media manipulation, and cybersecurity risks all became intertwined with the Czech democratic process. So as we begin today, our aim is to unpack how the digital dimension shaped campaigning, message amplification, and voter influence in 2025, what vulnerabilities were exposed, what might this mean for Czech democracy, and of course for similar elections elsewhere in the years ahead. Thanks again for joining. Let's dive in and let me introduce you to tonight's experts. Tomas Halasz is the co-founder and the CEO of Trollwall AI, an award-winning AI-powered software platform that automatically detects, hides, and filters out toxic, harmful, and hateful comments on social media pages. Good evening, Tomas.
Good evening.
In the interest of transparency, Trollwall was used as a tool by multiple campaigns in the election, and all of the clients I have heard have made it into the parliament. But Trollwall was not involved in the campaigning itself, so it wasn't part of a campaign team. With us as well from, I hope, sunny southern Italy, sitting in Pompeii, which I'm very envious of, is Jan Kral. He's a senior strategist who has advised campaigns and organizations across Europe on communication, voter engagement, the digital side of things. And he also, again, in the interest of transparency, was involved in campaigning in the Czech elections. A warm welcome to you as well, Jan.
Hello to everyone on the call. Thank you.
Great. So before I start with the questions, let me just remind everyone in the audience, there is a chat and there's also a Q&A. So whenever you feel like contributing, whenever you want to post a comment, a question, a thought, feel free to do so. Do not wait for me or do not wait for the end. I will bring in everybody as much as possible and their questions and comments. As with all Partisan webinars, we want to try to keep things very interactive and very dynamic. So please feel free to jump in. I know that there are also experts in the audience. So again, thanks for joining us. All right, let's jump into the discussion and start with digital campaigning. Start with the campaign mechanics. From your perspectives, Tomas, from your perspective, as from the sidelines, as someone who provides a tool, what kind of, can you tell us something about the online strategies and tools, including yourself, of course, that stood out as particularly effective in the Czech elections, and what difference they made?
Thank you. It's a good question. We still do some looking back at the elections. What generally from my side, and maybe Jan can add, what we can see is the similarities between campaigns in multiple countries. It used to be maybe more different, but there are minor cultural differences. But generally, things we saw with our clients in Romania or with in Germany, we also saw in Czech Republic. We see the rise of TikTok, definitely not just for campaigning, but also for foreign influence. We see that TikTok is also becoming more and more not just for the young voters or first-time voters, but also for higher age voters. And generally, what we see from this disinformation point of view is the thing which we keep on saying with Josef for the last 2 years, like every elections are about Russia, even if it is not the main topic of some elections. From the technological point of view, not that many things happen. We see definitely more AI used, like kind of normal use of AI these days. So GPT for text, for copy, for newsletters, etc., which is like old news now. We see more use AI in analytics, but not so much as we would maybe want to. The adoption rate generally in Europe is much slower than we hear from other countries, especially for India, which is really like on the front line of adoption of AI in campaigning. And what works, I need to say, I don't think any one tool will win or any one technology will win the elections. But what we see that also the old things are still working. So offline campaigning, community building, billboards, media publishing. That's what we hear from our clients as well. That they see okay that we need to do online, but we also cannot forget the old style of campaigning. So maybe this in the nutshell.
Thank you. Just as you mentioned, the rise of TikTok, what about other platforms like Instagram or YouTube, for example? Is there anything else that you thought was of particular importance?
We see that Facebook is also in mostly countries the main tool for communication to 35 upwards voters. It's like the penetration is so high in our countries and Slovakia, both in Czech Republic, it's over 80%, maybe 90% of online. So that's the old news. TikTok is more rising because of the time spent there, but we also see, as from our point of view, the rise of hate because more people, more hate. Instagram is gets somewhere stuck with some age group. So I don't think we see something we totally new. We haven't seen that in so much in Czech, but maybe Jan have a better view. The importance of influencers so much in political, like we saw in other countries where the influencers had much bigger influence over the campaigns and were much more involved. From the social media point of view, YouTube, I really like YouTube and I watch it, but I don't think it's such a major player compared to TikTok and Facebook. But maybe some one of the podcasts or some podcasters, but not in general as a platform. But maybe Jan can add to that.
Yeah. I think this is actually the point where I can step in. Just first thing I would like to say, if I start being too nerdy about data and stuff, just let me know because I think we don't have that much time.
You can't be too nerdy here, Jan. You can't be too.
Okay.
But I will interrupt if you're too long.
Perfect. I will try to be short and to the point. But the question of YouTube is actually really interesting. When you compare it with the demographics of other social media platforms, especially in Slovakia, as well as in the Czech Republic, this is a platform you can use for basically a wide reach in the certain and older age groups. So we kind of used it. Like we used it as a platform for the pre-campaigning at the start of this year to basically set up and test whether the messages and narratives are gonna catch with people. We used it with smaller budgets, but basically to see how it's gonna work. And then from there, we actually used YouTube throughout the full campaign. And the big difference between the past campaigns and this one was that we actually used YouTube throughout the last 6 months all the time. The only difference was the use of money in terms of ad spending at the beginning of the year and at the end of the campaign. But like YouTube became fully part of the media mix. And then going from the media channels themselves, because you asked about the tools, I would say I would dissolve it into 4 different categories. And I would say these categories are starting from monitoring and analytics to strategy, to content and production, to delivery of content. In all of these 4 categories, we had certain toolboxes we used. And I would say compared to other countries and other campaigns, this is something that is still developing. And when we talk to other parties and other countries, and we ask them in these four categories, what kind of toolboxes, what kind of tools you use, sometimes we get to a point that they say we don't use any tools. So I think what we are trying to bring and what we are seeing in slightly more digitally profound campaigning is that in all of these four categories, you have certain tools that help you to be more efficient, and they connect to each other, so they save you time. And in order to, like, once you have more time, you can actually spend it with slightly more interesting stuff and focus more on content, for example. So
Yeah.
before going really deep, this is the shallow part at the beginning.
Yeah, totally agree with Jan. And getting back to the tools, one thing we see what doesn't work is to try to find out the tool 2 months before the election, or start to adapt the new tool 2 months before elections. We see it also with some of our clients, even though most of them are working long time before the elections. But we generally have this feedback, okay, it's 3 months before election, somebody's come up with the idea, could we find some tool for this and this, and it's too late because you need to do onboarding, you need to get habit of that. It's generally too late, and that's why also we generally recommend our clients to start working as soon as possible. Usually the best time is after the elections, because then you
Yeah.
can set up for the next elections, because the campaign just started.
And then on the funny and absurd side at the same time, we kind of sometimes get to a point where uh, they don't understand what they're seeing in the tools. So it actually goes along with when you should adapt certain tools. So like, I've had experience from years and years ago when people were reporting reach data and impressions data, and they thought they're the same. So like you have to get yourself and your team time to actually understand what you're working with, and then understand how it changes your daily routine to make it easier to have more time to do other stuff. Yeah.
Agree.
Jan, now that you mentioned the toolbox, I don't know how much you can share. I think, I mean, Trollwall AI has already been mentioned, but can you share some other highlights
Yes.
potentially in the toolbox in those four dimensions that you think are particularly useful or effective?
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. I will slightly shoot myself in my leg because I know from the experience of the last campaign, we had areas where we were really weak, and the toolbox was one of them to some extent. So, in terms of the first category, in terms of monitoring and analysis, we knew that we would like to use certain tools such as Gerulata, another Slovak generated tool, which is really interesting in terms of understanding what's happening in the digital ecosystem, not just from the side of you as a client or party, but also from the side of the market itself. And we didn't have time and we didn't have resources to apply it. So I would say this was a bummer on our side that we actually didn't have this tool to work with. But this is something I would like to work with. And this goes down to what we were actually able to see, because we saw only parts of what was happening. We had our standard media monitoring. So when it comes to press releases, when it comes to TV shows, we kind of knew what was happening. So like standard, I don't even remember how is it called, but I think all of the markets, they have some of their own standard media monitoring tools. We had ZoomSphere, which is a tool for social sites. It does the benchmarking as well as the monitoring part, as well as content management part. So we use this one across the topics, or across the areas I talked about. Um, and that was the gist of it. So I would say 3, 4 basic ones. And when it comes to like deep analysis, it was more about, we didn't do any Pythons, we didn't do any super elegant work with data. It was more like getting data from different sources, then looking at it and not using any specific tool to crunch it. So yeah, that's for the start.
Tomas already mentioned the relation of ground game and digital game. Jan, what's your take on it? How important is digital compared to ground? Kind of could you put a number on it or a percentage on it? How important the two are compared to each other?
I think being people from the digital, we would like to say it's super important. But like once you get to a point where you understand digital and you also have a perspective of the whole campaign, you have to say, okay, it's part of something complex. So the question is, the question is not whether I should put more time or more money into digital. The question is, as you say, to put percentage of your time and your capacities and your money into digital. And I would say it roughly with, I think we would be on 30-40% with time spent, money spent regarding production as well as the media buying. And I really try, I really like myself in a way that I point the nest with my finger when I say digital is not as important as people would think. Seeing this from the perspective of how many people we can actually reach and what kind of attention we can get from them. And when you look on it from this perspective, the out of home, the prints, the contact campaign, it all becomes almost as important as the digital itself.
Thanks.
If I may add, I totally agree. What we see that they combine, they affect each other. What we saw also from other campaigns and the feedback from the clients was that okay, when there was some TV discussion, like major stuff, TV debate, after what they get the feedback in the comment sections was often really reflective. If you exclude the hate, which is like haters are gonna hate, the topics and the narrative and the feedback from the comment section they get on the social was really similar to the basic focus group, which they would take days to set up and to ask the followers. So we see it as a combination of get more data, more insights to the communication team, to the strategy team. So it's not exclusive one or another. And most often, if you start campaigning enough of time and you put a lot of money in the offline and you set up the narratives then reflects to the online. But then, of course, something happen in the online, but it's not so easy to plan. Something go viral. And from this affects also your press release, your press conference, and then it goes to the print and etc. So it's all the combination. And what we thankfully see that before it was so much more silos, like the digital was silo and the press release was silo, and we see that still in some very countries and where have like long history of campaigning with the same party. But in the last couple of years, it's more combined, and even people understand it's more combination of that.
Yeah, this is actually, I will add to this because this is actually a good point as well. The full integration of thinking. Like when it comes to tools, that's one category, but it's more about how you think about how you're gonna do your work and how you integrate your thinking within the team. And to be more specific, if there's one thing that kind of stopped working in the past couple of years, we would say from our experience and data, it's typical TV spots. Something you would shoot for TV commercial or something big you would like to shoot to start your campaign. If you take the same format, let's say 20 or 30-second bumper, it's really nice to tell a story. But if you put it on social sites, any kind of social sites in these days, it's not gonna work. That's one thing. And second thing is, what the digital gives you in terms of all the platforms you have is the chance of being really fast in terms of content creation and being reactive. And 95% of the time, when you are reacting at the right moment with the right content, that's something that's going to have the right performance. So putting all these 2 points together, if you are able to have standard TV content production on such a good level within 1 or 2 days, and then use it as a reactive content on social sites or any kind of other digital sites, that's going to be the performance. That's how you're going to achieve your performance goals.
Thank you. We have a question from the audience. Thanks, Mohammed, for the first one and breaking the ice. Speaking of the different platforms like YouTube, Instagram, like TikTok, like Facebook. Jan, you mentioned reactive messaging. Now, of course, these platforms, and Tomas also you mentioned that they target different audiences, different age groups, different population segments. So can you tell us a little bit how did the parties or also how did the campaign that you were involved with, Jan, adapt the content and the format depending on the respective platform?
I will probably start. We don't. So the approach we have is that based on the data we have from the strategy part that says this type of messaging is applicable to broader target group we have to target from 18 to 65 plus, which is something we are kind of looking for. Based on that, we develop certain contents, messaging strategies, and we deliver them to the same target group, which is 18 to 65 plus. So, and that's kind of the top view. Sometimes we do testing when it comes to more specific target groups, such as we knew that in these elections in the Czech Republic, there was a big group of first voters going from 18 to 22 years old, kind of, or even older. So for this group, we kind of had our own separate research to ask what are the topics they would be interested about. So for this, but again, the approach is the same. So you get the data from the strategy, but you don't really change it too much according to platform, even though the demographics on the platforms are slightly different. Because when you put it back together to the full media mix and you see results out of the campaigns, they complement each other and they don't go against each other. So always trying to stay a bit broader than we should think. And when going more narrow, not necessarily in terms of platforms, but more in terms of content itself.
Thanks. When you think about two of the winners of this election, namely ANO and the Pirates, which are, different kind of organizations in terms of size, of course, also in terms of party family and so on, but both of them won. So can you tell us a little bit from your perspective, just from a kind of a technical point of view, from a campaigning point of view, what have ANO and what have the Pirates gotten right? Can you name some kind of success factor, particularly, of course, when it comes to digital, that you think made them win or made them a winner of the election?
We actually talked about this with Tomas. We had a call a couple of days ago when we discussed the topics. I think when it comes to ANO, it's understanding that campaign is not something dedicated just for 4 months before the election, but it's something you do all the time, which means that they were running not only digital, but also standard media buying, such as out of homes, billboards, prints, since 24. Like there was intensity growing since last year. And even at the start of this year, even though none of the other parties were not campaigning in terms of like a big intensity, I know the party that won the election, they were. So I would say this would be one of the causes why they were able to hold the position for such a long time with the percentages they have had around 30%. With Pirates, I actually went through at the times when the Meta platforms and Google platforms were still able to show you how much money and what kind of money on which kind of ads the parties spend their money in their Facebook libraries, which is not applicable anymore. So I was going through it and I saw that I think they had a nice combination of data gathering throughout the lead campaigns that they used for making custom audiences, which they used to target as well as exclude from their social media campaigns. This is the nerdy part a bit, but it's, I would say, a really smart way to do it when you know that you cannot afford or you don't want to target the full market because you don't have resources or you don't have money. So basically what they did was they created a digital self-filling loop of data that was getting more and more leads from people interested in the party. And then based on the leads, creating lookalike audiences, targeting lookalike audiences, doing it for a couple of weeks and months. So there was consistency as well. And then having loads of money for it. Because for a long time, for a really long time, the Pirates have been spending more than any other party in the Czech Republic. So I think the combination of resources and being digitally savvy.
I don't want to comment on specific parties, just as a technical provider. What I can say generally from all the elections where we were used as a tool, I can say that if depends on the party, on the leadership, and on the message. If you are a party of the strong leader, there are some other expectations from you regarding some of the things how you're gonna do. And if you are a party which says is one of us, it's younger, it's more community build. There are different expectations also on the digital. Yeah, you you need to be cool if you are targeting to be a cool party. Regarding community management, what we deal with it is affecting the same. If you are a strong populist leader in whatever country, nobody from your voters expect that you're gonna reply to them in the comment section, to the emails, to the messages. If you are communicating to your party of common people or your young people, and I ask you the question, I expect that you're during the election gonna reply. And the successful party who were in the second part, who say they are from community, they do actually community management. And this might be interesting. We done the test during the summer, not just in Czech Republic, but we done it in 6 countries over the Europe, and we tested because of the Meta, Facebook, Instagram advertisement ban. There is generally well-known fact that the community management will be more important. People will the algorithms like if the party, if the chairman replies to the comments, reply to the messages, engage, not just spread the message and don't interact. And we made a test in 6 countries, and we give a normal question, no troll question from normal profile to the political parties, and we were checking if they reply and how fast. And it was generally really bad results. Thankfully, in Czech Republic it was better, but it was also before the elections. But generally, we can say that this will be one of the things which will work in the future. Back to the social part of the social media. Like, if you say that you care about me as a, I don't know, single mom or as a young entrepreneur, and I give you a question, what are you gonna do for me? Well, about the kindergartens or the taxes, because you'll put a post about kindergarten or taxes, and I'm gonna ask, okay, but what about this? And you're not gonna reply to me. You already lost the lead. You already lost and made a bad impression. And it sounds so basic, but I think we are in some way getting back to the basics. And also thanks to AI, now you can reply with a human in the loop on much larger scale, because it will help you to draft the answer.
We will be getting to AI in a second. Jan, I want to ask you regarding Meta, because we have a question from the audience. And we had a couple of webinars on this that you can also see in our archive. Now, of course, Meta has stopped serving political ads in the European Union. So, thinking about the next election in the Czech Republic and elsewhere, how do you adapt your strategy based on that?
I would love to say that we have certain steps in place, but honestly, we don't know yet. No one knows. Like, there is an article on Meta website from the 25th of July about the end of political advertising in the European Union. It hasn't been updated since. Like, no one kind of knows. So we are already thinking about what we're gonna do. That's for sure. But we are also believing that certain changes are gonna happen in the next couple of, let's say, 5-6 months, maybe. Definitely 2 important changes. One of them is something that Tomas already mentioned. Go back to the OG stuff, go back to what digital or to social is supposed to be about. So, but when you think about it, the internet was still is based on link building, connecting information together. Social sites are the same thing. If you use social sites just to get your message out without listening to people or interacting to them, you're missing a big part of it that's going to reward you in getting more impressions and getting more reach. So go back to this. That's one thing. Second thing is definitely the part of the digital money is going to go to the different media channels. The bummer part is that as we have talked to different distribution providers, in a sense of we know that the advertisement is banned on Meta, it has stopped on Google. It's not going to be served on Adform, for example. So if you buy your banners through different agencies or through different tools, they're not going to serve them. And as we talked to the publishers themselves, they told us that there are going to be some issues with them, but they are working on a way that you should be able to buy the ad placements or the banner placements directly. But definitely there are going to be some limitations. So some part of the money is going to go to the direct buy of digital. which means going from social more to the publisher side. And then the part of the money is also going to go to the out of home campaigns, focusing on prints. But this is something we still have to go deeper in terms of efficiency and how much money we have to put there.
Yeah, if I may add to that, TikTok doesn't have political ads. Yeah, not at all on the platform, and it's so important platform now because of the engagement, how the algorithm works, and how you can go viral and can have a broad view without ads. And we also saw that different strategy in some countries and some campaigns that like, okay, we just Facebook, Meta, we just put some content what the chairman wants, and we put an ad on it, and we put the money so everybody will see it, and job done. While on TikTok it doesn't work, so we need to be more creative, need to be more engaged, and again back to the OG as Jan name it, community management. Like again on this, and doesn't mean only to replying to comments and engaging with that, but also reflecting what the people are saying and what they're expecting and what are the trends, and then make based on content on that.
Thank you. Sorry, Jan, did you want to add something?
No. I just nodded my head saying yes.
Very good.
I agree.
Thomas, you mentioned AI, and of course we have to talk about AI and its use, and Trollwall itself is making use of AI. So can you give us a little bit of a backstage pass to what's being deployed when it comes to AI at the moment, and of course not just with Trollwall, but also potentially with other things you're seeing in the field for better or for worse?
For better or worse, let's start for the worst. We see more AI slop, more AI-generated content from various players out of political parties, but like foreign players. What we saw also, the political parties are their chairmen and their heads of states are used in the AI fraud and AI advertisement on platforms for getting some crypto schemes. And generally, we see even more bots, which are more they are not so stupid as they used to be. So on the bad side. On the good side, we see, in our case, Trollwall is not just the moderation platform now to remove all the hate and all the polarization, which at the end also have an effect on the community, on the messages, and also on the performance of the advertisement. But now also our AI get insights from the comments and from the content which our clients publish. So it's also for the strategist point of view. And also thanks to AI, it helps to answer, but it doesn't answer automatically. So it helps to draft the answer and get them insight to the committee managers, to the social media managers, how to engage with the voters, what are the answers to the questions they have, because the policy papers are changing and so on. So I see, thankfully, now less hesitation to use AI, but there are still too many tools. They are not so, there's a lot of fragmentation. What I think definitely we'll see in the upcoming years, and also will be one of the providers on that, is more integration. So there is rise of CTOs in political parties across Europe. It's still not too many, but I'm sure everybody will be in the political tech summit in Berlin. So the CTO who will gather the data from the provider of app for on ground, from the provider of advertisement, from the Trollwall, from the social media, they'll gather to one Power BI dashboard and also get the insights. We definitely see in the content creation, thankfully, not that much political parties want to use AI videos, like this, AI slop videos, but they definitely use GPT or some kind of GPT for generation of the text content, and it's just as a productivity. I don't think we are still at the breaking point. I think we see step by step. It's not revolution, it's evolution. I'm not sure about Czech Republic. What we saw in other elections and out of elections, they are testing AI focus groups, so synthetics, where they are training the AI with the knowledge they have to test some messages and so on, but also it still doesn't have the accuracy which they want. It's more like in discovery phase. So I think still it's evolution, and I'm sure till January there will be more and more things coming up in this field.
Thanks, Jan. From your strategist angle, I mean, for the past elections, the pattern was often overblown expectations about AI, and then, again, for better or for worse, not necessarily everything coming into being. Now, from your toolbox point of view, what has been useful to you in terms of AI, and also what have you observed others using potentially?
I'm not sure that much about others, so I will speak a bit more about what we used or how we use AI in almost everything we do now. Um, I'm gonna start with what Tomas talked about, content, for example. Uh, we on one side we know that we would like to do good content in terms of quality and how it looks and how it feels. On the other side, we also know that we have to produce a mass. We have to have a lot of stuff. Um, the AI part helps us with doing half of the video, for example. In the recent campaign, for the campaign was for the full Czech Republic, let's say, which is divided into 14 different regions. Each of the different region had a different political leader, and then you have to be able to match the volume of requests from the leaders in terms of what they want in terms of the video content. So we used AI as another colleague to help us with developing the videos in the specificity of having an AI voice as an actor within the video for the party leader within the region. When you put all of this together, it puts the pressure on the outcome or on the capacity you have to have such lower than you need to. So the production you can focus more on different stuff. So this was one of the parts we used AI to make more efficient processes. So when we do campaigning, it's not just about the stuff you see outside the campaign itself, the shiny stuff, but it's also about how you make make the party or the campaigning part of the party more efficient again. So we use that to develop processes or to be more automatic in terms of processes they didn't have. Again, to be more specific, when it comes to getting financial data out of Meta or different platforms, which, as probably you know, you get once you get to certain spends, you get almost on daily basis. In order to save time of the accountants, we developed a tool that was automatically scraping the financial data, then getting the data into specific brackets that you could use to report to different people, again, in the different regions. We basically saved half of a person throughout the week. So this was one thing. And as I said, it goes through all of the tools and toolboxes in the 4 categories I mentioned. So you could imagine what we did in the different categories as well.
So you said half a person was saved, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite remarkable. And of course, as Thomas said, we're only really at the beginning of it, right? So, I mean, OpenAI with Sora and all the things it can do, right? I think there's much more to come, and again, for better and for worse, probably. Speaking of worse, of course, we also need to talk about the disinformation and the platform response. Thomas, you keep monitoring, of course, inauthentic behavior and interference. Can you give us some insights into what you saw? You said bots are getting smarter. So what does it mean in practice, and how does the defense keep getting smarter as well?
Yes. What we see, and this is not technical thing, what we see that is very crucial in defending the integrity of the elections is generally the good working state and good working investigative journalism. We saw what's happened in Romania. We saw recently in Moldova. We know how the Moldova. You had a panel about Moldova. How the outcome of elections. What was the case which was found by Czech group Center for Online Risk Research. They found 240 fake accounts on TikTok, which were linked together, which were amplifying pro-Russian narratives. They were not working especially for one party. They were generally engaging and spreading and amplifying pro-Russian narratives of multiple parties. And they made very good investigation. TikTok were put them down. TikTok by itself, and to give them the credit, they said they generally put down more than 187,000 fake accounts just in Czech Republic, so large scale. But yes, because of the how TikTok works, this is one of the things how AI and how disinformation are spreading. On the good side, we can also see that this doesn't win the elections. Yeah. We saw that in Moldova, we saw that in Romania. It really helps, it will push, but there is no one thing which will help. And I think part of the electorate, part of the voters are generally not affecting by this, but it's more about mobilizing that kind of group, so pro-Russian voters and this thing. Generally, how they can defend. I think the most important is to set up the narrative as soon as possible. And this is not technical thing. So set up the narrative to don't have a disinformation setting up the narrative. And it's in case of January the elections and campaign starts the day after the last elections, but also about the events happened. Yeah. If something happened in Poland with another drone, the party or the state cannot wait half a day, 1 day, 2 days to the investigation come out and then come up with the message. But they need to come up with a message with the right away. Otherwise, the disinformation are there already, and it's harder to change somebody's mind than to make somebody's mind. So it is not so technical. From the technical point of view, I always recommend to set up the monitoring, which is more about Gerulata, which was mentioned, to monitor these kind of accounts, which and the Telegram channels and so on, which are spreading the narratives, and so to get ready to pre-bank from the point of view of the campaigner, and also for the comment section of the community, so set up to also what shouldn't be spread, because what we see that if you as a party till now paid ads to show your post on Facebook to your potential voters. And then when you bring in this post to your voters, and right underneath there is a disinformation, there are like fake narratives which are taken out from the message. They are generally using your money to get to your voters. And we always said if wouldn't matter what people say in the comments, Russians wouldn't do them in 50 millions a year, approximately. That's approximate. So yeah, there are multiple tools for that. So monitoring, and most important is to listen to the data, listen to what is happening, and also to set up the strategy based on that. But at the end, it shouldn't be about narratives from the disinformation only. It should be about you pushing your narrative, so put your message first. And I think Jan will have speak about that more. Yeah, I just in a nutshell, disinformation are here to stay, but the effect is not so bad as we expected maybe 3 years ago. You remember Joseph, we spoke about AI deepfakes changing the rules of the game. Didn't show up still.
Yeah. I think I'm a positive person. I believe that people are not that stupid, some of them. So it's also one of the explanations why I would say it doesn't have as a big impact as we kind of expected right now, hopefully. But yeah, Tomas mentioned one important thing that's really crucial to us from the campaigning point of view. The focus on your message, focus on delivering what you want to say, focus on the volume of it. Because if you are working against something that's trying to take people's attention or to make chaos inside of their minds, then just fight it with more volume and be more precise and be more integral. Do know what you want to say it repeatedly so you don't confuse people, and focus on yourself. That's like one of the golden silver rules of how to work with it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And this is the place for AI, is a multiplier. AI didn't change the elections, and I keep saying that for 4 years. It didn't change the elections, it just multiplies. And thankfully, like it multiplies the effect of really good campaigners and even from the smaller parties, from the parties which maybe didn't have so many human resources like that. Yeah. So if you have a good strategist, a good content team with a good use of AI, you can multiply the effect and spread your message, and make it on the large scale, which before you couldn't do because you wouldn't have the resources. So it's the multiplier. But if you have a bad strategist, if you have a bad message, no AI will help you in that. It will spread, but it will not stick.
Yeah, and I will play a bit a devil's hand, or I will, let's say, do a bit of a hypothetical idea of space now. When they are able to do it, and let's put anyone you want in the bracket of they, then we are able to do it. So it's about the method that you apply, and whether you have, again, resources or mental capacity or mental bravery to do it, because it's not hard to understand what the other parts of the world are actually doing against us or other people. So yeah, I wouldn't we definitely will try to understand what's happening and then think about how we can apply it to good.
Yeah.
Thanks. And also thanks for sharing in the chat, Be Mobile, the 25,000 fake TikTok accounts deleted in one day. I assume that you were part of a campaign and 300,000 fake accounts following you in a few days. So that shows the dynamic and how quickly those things go in either direction. Let me ask you about the role of money in campaigns. Now, on the one hand, I think what Jan said. We basically save money by saving time, saving personnel potentially when it comes to AI. At the same time, of course, there's the cost of the software as a service stack, and also one discussion I had a few months ago. Of course, this idea that you can train your own models potentially, but that of course you need high quality data, and high quality data is very, very expensive to gain, to buy whatever you want. So how do you see the role of money changing? Is it getting cheaper to campaign? Is it actually getting more expensive to campaign? Or are other resources like with Meta just being shifted around from one place to another? Jan, do you want to start?
Yeah. I would say since the laws in the countries in terms of limits on campaigning are kind of the same, and if you play by the book, you still have the same money, but the inflation kind of goes up in terms of the CPMs, CPCs. So you get slightly less stuff for the same money, and you don't have right now more money that you had 4 or 5 years ago. So that's the situation we are in. Um, on the other side, um, what actually happened today when I was going through some of the reports, and I don't know if it's true or not. In the last couple of weeks in the campaign, I was not I wasn't able to understand whether we were getting to the limit of reach in terms of social sites, or whether the platform that was showing us the data was broken. And I'm talking about Facebook and Instagram. What happened yesterday was that the complete reach out of the campaign, so the reported reach, I was comparing to the basically comparing the same metric yesterday and 2 weeks ago. We had plus 1.4 million people in terms of the size of the reach in the full country. And then I just asked myself, did we plan it based on the models that were actually not showing the good information, so we overspend it, or did we actually did it right? And this was like this was a idea that got into my head when talking about money. So yeah, that's for the start.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Thomas.
just to give a context for maybe listeners out of Czech Republic. In Czech Republic, it's the same in many countries in Europe. You have a by law limitation how much you can spend on the campaign. We can see in the US that even with the all AI, which is like is a country of AI, I don't think the campaigns are getting cheaper or less money spent, because it's the winner takes it all. So it's a maybe different game. So in our countries where you have a limitation of money, how much you can, if you play by the book, you can spend. The campaigns will not get cheaper, but you can do more, of course, and that's the whole point. Like if you imagine campaigning 15 years ago, You didn't need to do TikTok. You didn't need to do this kind of messaging and these kind of things. And before you have like, you have just outdoor and just in-person campaigning. So it's more and more you need to do. And AI will not save you money on the whole campaign because the money will go to another part. But hopefully with the AI you can do more. And this is they also then you need to see the return of the investment. If I will be the CTO of the political party and somebody comes to me like, let's build our own model and put a 200, 300, 500K to that, I feel I will be asking, okay, but is there real return of investment? If maybe it will be 20%, 30% better than if off the shelf tools, but is still this money better spent here on the own tech, or is better to buy off shelf and spend it on the campaigning in the media? So generally, mostly for the countries which are not that big, like India or like United States, even in United States, I would still recommend mostly to buy off shelf, and it's definitely much cheaper. And then focus on things which are really good, because most of the parties are not good in everything. They are good in some parts, and it's campaigning, the messaging, the candidates, maybe not so tech and so integration. But we are happy to hear also the feedback from our clients to integrate the feedback after each campaign.
Yeah, I will just maybe add to that. I think it applies to all of the European countries that the laws in terms of the money you can spend in campaigns are kind of strict and limited. So at this point, I would say there is a big potential to have more money in campaigns, because when you look on it from the side of the media buying, from the experience of commercial stuff, the campaigns are still not run in a way that they would be successful in the commercial businesses. And looking at this from this point of view, I would say there's still much more to learn in how much money that can go in and how you spend the money in terms of media planning, media channels, as well as throughout the full campaign period. Because in Czech Republic, I think when the elections were brought up as a topic and it was put in a law that the elections are going to come, it was 6-7 months before the elections themselves, and everything since that time, and also everything that was connected to elections even before the law that passed, was within the campaign limit. So, and I think even us, which I worked for like a middle-sized party, even us trying to raise money, all of the parties were getting to the limit of how much you can actually spend. So thinking that this is going to apply to all of the different countries in European as well. So yeah, potential to growth and potential to use more money, definitely.
Thank you. We are coming towards the end of our 60 minutes. So let me just use this opportunity and ask the audience again, and thank the audience for the great questions so far. But if you have another question, comment, or thought, now is the time to do so. You can ask Tomas or Jan pretty much anything. Thanks both for your honesty and your frankness. We really appreciate it. And it's been really super interesting so far. While people are thinking, let me ask you one more question. Now, of course, a glimpse into the future. Now that you've seen what happened in the Czech Republic at this election, of course, we all know after the election is before the next election. So what would you expect that parties have learned from this campaign, and what do you think they will adapt in the next 1, 2, 3 years?
I think this already happened during this one, and I think it's going to be applicable to the next one. The craftsmanship of the campaigns itself was on a much higher level compared to the last election. So the way how they communicated, the way what they put on the billboards, the way how they looked visually. So basically, the level of craftsmanship went up. The level of technicianship in terms of how they were operating campaigns went up. I saw structures in campaigning that I haven't seen for the last years, like on such a big scale as I saw it this campaign. So I think we are moving slightly more towards 24/7 campaigning and 24/7 campaigning thinking. I think I know we had this idea a couple of years ago that parties and politicians, they obviously they have to communicate all the time, but I think they start they started thinking about how to use not only the native channels they have, but also the channels they have to buy. They started thinking about what kind of messages we have to get out, not just talk, but talk with purpose, and talk with purpose on billboards as well. So to have direction. So I think the craftsmanship is gonna stay. I think the 24/7 campaigning to some extent is gonna stay, and then slightly more trajectories in terms of what they will try to say. Probably one last thing. It's not gonna be as good as I think when it comes to new government, because the currently new government, as it was not government in the last couple of years, had time to develop these ways of thinking and working. And once they're gonna get in the government preoccupied with other stuff they have to work on, probably the shift to the higher level is not gonna be as strong as it looks.
Thank you.
Great insights. We are still on the plan to talk with our clients to also to learn from their experience using our tool. Generally, I think it's coming from multiple elections. What we see afterwards, what works out is that if the campaign team is not dissolved right after elections, like even if there are external consultants or like hired people, but the core, if it stays, the results are staying, and also the to 24/7 campaigning, we see the bad habit of like the campaign team works really great, had one election, got to the government, and then go to one ministry, second ministry, third ministry, and then you have a half a year without making the proper campaigning, like for the upcoming elections, and then the opposition takes the narratives, set up the narratives, and set up the narrative about this government, how it's not working. So from the technical point of view, and what we hope still we'll see more and more is is to have a person kind of like CTO who will be looking over the tech. Because some people are more analytic, some people are more creative, some people are good at messaging. But as Jan said, like sometimes even to automatize the invoicing and accounting for the party saves one to whatever, depending on the size of the country, people who can do other things, because there is never enough of outdoor campaigning, never enough door-to-door, never enough social media content. So that it's like there is still so much we can do. So I think over the maybe next 4 years, there definitely will be more harmonizing all these tools. So not to be so fragmented. We have a boom of political tech, and also we can see that in Berlin in January, there's a boom of political tech. I think there's a lot of fragmentation, but I think we spoke also with other leaders from the other political tech to getting more together. So then there are solutions which brings the best from the best off shelves to a specific party. And I hope this trend as a craftsmanship will stay in the parties, but we will see. It's very hard to predict with the rise of chatbots and OpenAI, for example. We'll see where this will go, because this might be another platform of the fight for the campaign. So we imagine the next time first-time voters in 2-3 years will ask OpenAI chatbot, who should I vote for?
On a content side, one thing with Sora and other platforms, and with the way how we, in terms of campaigns, think about developing content, and seeing commercial brands and companies already doing it. Let's say in 3-4 years, I think we're gonna have AI agents of our favorite politicians, which are gonna be, let's say Andrej Babiš is gonna have its own avatar in digital version, and if at the same time when he's gonna be speaking at the government's parliamentary table, at the same time his AI agent is gonna be doing press release or conference on social sites. I think this is gonna slowly become more around us.
Thank you very much, both. And on that note, we end on time. And funny you should talk of Sora, because our next webinar will be looking at Sora and its potential implications for political campaigning. Stay tuned. If you are on a newsletter, you will get the invite. If not, do subscribe. And of course, I hope to see you all at the Political Tech Summit in Berlin in January. It's going to be great, it's going to be practical, it's going to be beneficial and fun, that I've heard from many people who were at the first one in Berlin this January. So thanks again, Tomas, thanks again, Jan, it's been great, and we'll have a summary and the recording in the next newsletter next Tuesday. Until then, have a great evening. Cheers.